This podcast is sponsored by Samsung Technologies. Samsung is an industry leader in both consumer and professional audio technologies. Samsung's wide range of products, including wireless microphones, headphones, audio amplifiers, audio mixers, and signal processors, are essential for any filmmaker, musician, guitarist, vocal artist, journalist, or even podcaster. Check out their website at samsungtech.com. Their USB microphone, the Samsung G-Track Pro, is going to be featured here on the Stoked on Plants podcast. This microphone is seriously amazing. You guys got to check it out. If you've got a Blue Yeti, ditch it, buy this thing right now. It's got a 2-in, 2-out audio interface so you can record yourself and an instrument of any kind at the same time. 3 vocal patterns are featured on this bad boy, so cardioid, omni, or figure 8, so you can do anything yourself, a partner, so the two of you on one microphone, or a room full of people. This thing can seriously handle any situation. Check out samsungtech.com/stoked on plants to learn more about the Samsung G-Track Pro. Hello, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Stoked on Plants podcast. I am your host, Paul Castro Jr. Welcome back, my dear friends, my dear listeners. Thank you all for listening. Today, joining us once again for her second time on the podcast, although it is actually probably her 5th if you count recordings that we'd never actually aired. Aly Miller, welcome. Thank you for coming back. Thank you.
Oh, that just made my whole day, that impression. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. We got 1% of the microphone needs to be turned down. Too many loud microphones in the building. And we're gonna take down Wall Street and make them return all the microphones back to their normal prices.
Cue all the Bernie impressions incoming for the next 2 years.
2 years. Bernie is running for office, which a lot of people are excited about, which should be very entertaining, to say the least, with him and Donald Trump maybe being the two people running. But we'll talk about politics when it gets more knee-deep in there, although maybe we'll talk a little bit about it. Marianne Williamson, is she a vegan? Is that like...
Oh, I don't know if she's a vegan. So I know... Are we just jumping right into this?
Sure, why not?
I have information. So I started following Gabrielle Bernstein first. I don't know how I got
I said Marianne Williamson.
Yes,
Did
you're right. No, that's the right name.
Yeah.
But Gabrielle Bernstein is sort of the modern day Marianne Williamson. And she is also a student of A Course in Miracles. And she learned so much from Marianne Williamson. And I know Gabrielle Bernstein was a vegan, wasn't a vegan, was back and forth. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, she seems like she's not on dairy anymore, but she does eat meat. Anyway, Marianne Williamson, who's sort of her mentor and teacher, I don't know if she's vegan or not.
But that one guy, Cory Booker, apparently is a vegan.
Yes, apparently he's a vegan.
It's funny, I saw a lot of people talking about this, asking vegans if they're going to vote for him just because he's a vegan. And please do not vote for a candidate just because they're vegan. That's cool, but you have to look at all their policies. I think actually he is a moderate that leans more conservative. Or not. I don't know. Don't quote me. Don't listen to me at all. Apparently, I've just read that some people don't actually. He seems to have interests leaning more towards corporation values. So, just do your research. Don't be a bandwagon voter just because there's one thing that you like about them. You shouldn't vote for a candidate just because you like the car they drive, and you shouldn't do it just because they have the same moral interest as you, because the president has a lot of responsibilities and can really fuck things up, as we've seen thus far. So just because you like the guy's hats doesn't mean you should vote for him. Cool. So we got some vegans running for president. That's crazy. We got vegans telling people that they can get free tickets to Jay-Z and Beyonce concerts. We talked about that. I read about, there's a lot of vegan people in the entertainment industry, and today we're going to talk about something very cool, specifically dealing with actors or activism in the entertainment world. Aly and I saw Wicked yesterday. I have no idea when you'll be watching this, so we saw it on Thursday of February the 21st. And thank you to her brother, who works for a marketing agency who does all the digital media marketing for Broadway shows. They do like Dear Evan Hansen, they do Wicked, and a couple of other things. But they had tickets for Wicked, and I was like, hell yeah, I want to go. And heck yeah. And Aly, so she set that up, and he got us tickets. And thank you so much for that, Matt. First time I'd seen it, Aly saw it, 10 years ago at least?
Yes, this was actually my third time seeing it.
Wait. So what? You told me you saw it once.
No, I thought I told you that this is my third time.
No. You said you saw it once.
Yes, I saw it. I mean, the second time doesn't count.
Why doesn't that count?
I was with people from like my college and you know, it was just sort of a group activity. We all went together, sat in the way back.
So how does that not count?
I mean, it counts. I just don't remember it at all. So of course, I remember the first time I saw Wicked and how magical it was.
For the first time in forever. No, it's Frozen. Sorry, wrong musical.
My dad got me and my sister and two of my friends tickets, except I never was somebody who had friends. And at the time, we weren't that close. But I invited them to see Wicked with me.
And you paid for them?
I think my dad did. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Ken just balls out,
but
man.
I will say one of the friends was Amanda, who is still one of my best friends today.
She's not been crossed off the list yet?
She's not been crossed off the list yet. But we all went together. We sat in the front row of the loge, or loge, whatever.
What's that?
It's like the balcony, but even better. It's
like the extended portion of the balcony,
yes,
which you showed me.
Exactly. That's where we sat. Yep.
So we sat probably like in the fifth row, I want to say.
Yeah, this was actually
so A, B, C, D, E,
better.
fifth row. We sat in the fifth row from the front, and I'm a believer that you shouldn't even go to theater if you're sitting in the nosebleeds. There's no point. You can't see anything. First of all, we were in the fifth row. The first probably 15 minutes, I couldn't hear a word they were saying. They're all singing stuff about something. I had no idea what it was. So I'm just going off of, like, I'm watching all the backup dancers. I'm not even looking at the main characters because I don't know what they're saying. I'm just looking at the backup people, and they're super into it and excited and enthusiastic. And some of these actors have been doing this for years. And I don't know about you, but I could not do that. I love theater. We're talking about this. I love the stage. But if I had to do a show for 10 years like some of these people on The Lion King are doing, I would go insane. I'd go crazy. Like, imagine just living in a perpetual loop for like your entire life.
Yes, but it is only for 2.5, 3 hours a day.
Sure, and every show is different, and there's things. And listen, I think that's people always say, like, you can always learn something new about you. Something new you find in the performance, you dig deeper. Listen, if you haven't figured out how to hold if Rafiki hasn't figured out how to hold Simba up to the sun gods on his 5,000th performance, then you gotta maybe look into another career, because like, what other things can you do? You hold them up with 3 fingers first time, then maybe you throw in a pinky, maybe you put the thumb right around his sacrum. Like, what is different? The 5,000th performance, I don't see the appeal in that. You do a show for 6 months, sure, whatever, I'm down for that. You'll find different, you do a couple hundred performances, fine. But no, not doing a show for years for me. But apparently this time we saw Wicked, super close. I overall, like, in terms of what I would rate it, I said I'd give it a 6. In terms of like what I'm not a huge musical fan to begin with. Aly, I think it's probably a 19 out of 10, or maybe 5. She'd give it a 19 still. I don't know. What's your rating of it?
The first time I saw it, I mean, it would be over a 10 out of 10. I just loved it so much, and I thought it was perfection. And even throughout the years, I've always thought that it was the best show. However, when we saw it last night, of course, I was still in love, and I couldn't contain my excitement the entire time, but I thought you were telling me that I had to
No, it was me.
clean my mouth. There was something a little less magical about it. The audience was actually not a great audience. They didn't really laugh. They didn't really cheer. The energy was low.
Did you cheer and laugh?
I tried to, but
you
when you're
did
the
start one
only
clap, and I
one,
saw you look at me like,
started
I
a
am
clap.
starting the clap right now.
Starting this clap. I don't remember what it was for. But there was something that made me just see it differently. Maybe it's my maturity. Maybe it's knowing it so well that I looked at it differently this time. But there was something that I felt something about it that was really faster than I remember it. Everybody was like, the lines were being said super snappy, and I don't remember being able to breathe. And so many of the jokes that I remember were funny and people were laughing at. They were just being ran over. Like the actors were just saying them quickly. Nobody even had time to figure out if it was a joke. So and I just feel like maybe that's the it could just be what's happened to it over time. It's been 15 years.
That it's just got kind of mundane. Like it's
I'm not really sure exactly, but there was something different about the energy of the show. And I have been reading things, old criticisms of the play, since you mentioned reading some yourself.
Yep.
I do see some flaws in it. It doesn't change the fact that it's my favorite musical.
Sure, but is it your favorite musical because it's nostalgic, or because it's no doubt one of the most successful, if not the most successful musical on Broadway to date. I think obviously Phantom of the Opera is probably is the most successful, but I think Wicked, in terms of a franchise, merchandising and all that stuff, I think it's probably, I don't know, I'd have to look at and see what the gross sales of everything is, but I think obviously they're making a movie of it now, so it's up there, if probably top 10 at the very least of musicals most successull.
Yes, I do think that you may have had a better experience. Like I said,
really?
Should the energy have been a little bit better? Because I remember seeing Spring Awakening, which I saw twice during a time. Spring Awakening wasn't on for that long. So every night it was this like bubbling from everybody. Then everybody was at the stage door waiting for them. Everybody was talking about it in school and online. The same thing for Avenue Q. I saw that twice. And there was just so much energy. It was so exciting. And then seeing Wicked, it was so exciting. You could feel just this collective consciousness of excitement and fun.
It was brand new too.
Yeah, that's true. And I felt that way when I saw Phantom. My dad kept talking about it so much. It's going to be the most amazing show.
The last time you saw it, or the first time you saw it?
I only saw Phantom once.
So recently you felt that same way?
No, when I saw
Les
Phantom,
Mis recently.
I saw Les Mis.
Sorry.
And that was exciting. But Phantom, I saw how amazing it was, but there was something lacking. I just didn't feel something.
Sure.
Something was missing. So.
Yeah, but for me, it was still enjoyable. She showed me all these videos of the different people playing all the different like Glindas and Elphabas and stuff and whatever. I thought both the girls who played the main roles were very talented and good, and one of them was an understudy actually, or a standby. I don't know what it was.
I feel like we should say their names.
Yeah, sure, you can pull them up. But while I'm talking about that, why are we talking about this on Stoked on Plants? Mm-hmm. What's so special about it? And I think it's not promoted much at all within the show, number one, because I think it would distract from the commercial appeal of the Wizard of Oz and fantasy that it's got going on. But Wicked is very much has, at least at the very least, the undertones of an animal activist play script, but it's a show that fights for animals. The entire play is, I'm not going to spoil anything here because you can watch the damn thing on YouTube. We're just talking about this. Isn't it crazy that there's these, they don't record things, but they allow these videos of the entire play to just sit on YouTube. And thankfully, in a way, because you wouldn't get to see some of the, iconic people who play these roles, like Norbert Leo Butz we were talking about. The guy was 37 years old when he played this character who's supposed to be in college. And I know you can go to Lincoln Center Archives, and if you guys don't know about this, you live in New York, Lincoln Center, you can go and watch archives of any play or musical that has existed, but you can only see it like twice in your entire life or something. I think there's like a limit on it. But
weird.
I just feel like they should offer the video version, live adaptations of the show. That's how I fell in love with Into the Woods. You showed me the VHS version that they had, or whatever, the live. Yeah,
they did a professional tape recording.
Yeah, they should do professional tapings of all these. But I guess you can't do that for every cast, is my point. So there should be, a taping at least once, and you should be able to buy it. If people are going to pirate it anyway, then maybe just monetize it, and then it's the best of both worlds. But anyway, the undertones of the play are that Elphaba, she is got green skin. She's an outcast. Her sister is put in a wheelchair because her father was afraid that he was going to have another daughter that was going to look just like her. And they go to college, and there's one of the professors is a goat. And we find out that the government, let's say, the wizard and Hufflepuff land or whatever it's called, the Munchkin land, right? Is that what it's called? The land of the Munchkins?
I think the whole thing is the Land of Oz.
Land of Oz, whatever.
Everything is Oz.
Munchkinville, Hufflepuffville. They're trying to silence the animals, and there's a chalkboard that says
animals should be seen and not heard.
Animals should be seen and not heard, and that's the first trigger for Elphaba to say, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
And the minute that chalkboard turned around and said that, Paul here was like, "Well, I was too," but we both were like,
I gave her a look. I was like,
we were like,
I didn't know this. I was like, I didn't know that this was an animal activism.
Excited vegans in the house.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, Alex, I said, scream during like intermission, go vegan. She wouldn't do it though. I kind of did it, but I didn't want to get kicked out of the place. But so it's a play that's got these animal activism undertones, and it's very interesting that they don't promote it in that way. I do think that a lot of people talk about that fact doesn't necessarily need to be there in the play, that the animal activisms like the play could do without, but I think it's crucial and important. I think the way that they talk about the oppression of these animals could be substituted for anything. It could be for women's rights, people of different nationalities or races and colors. It really serves as kind of an analogy for pretty much any time period that we might exist in, and that's why I think the musical stood the test of time. So, more so than comparing it to those other different things, just take it for what it is. I mean, the world that we live in right now, we're trying to take away a voice from voiceless beings as it is. It's interesting because in the play, the animals can talk, and then we silence them, and then we make them into slaves. Mm-hmm. They put wings on the monkeys, and they talk about it. They go, they say, don't call them slaves, or don't call them, call them spies. Not, what do they call them though? Not prisoners or spies or whatever.
Something.
But it's very interesting how you can view the business of the animal industry, and we talk about them as livestock instead of animals or pets. And I think it's just, if there was a promotion for the play in that way, I don't think it would be nearly as successful, because there's obviously we went to Bear Burger afterwards, and we had a long discussion about like, why do these places that, you know, we walk in the we'll get back to it in a second, but we're going somewhere with this. The waiter sits down, he's like, hey, how you guys doing? You ever been to Bear Burger before? This guy was clearly like an aspiring actor. He's like, we got grass fed, beef fed, this fed, dupe fed. He's like performing us the different versions of meat that they have. He's like, you know, so they're grass fed and they're, you know,
you don't have to worry,
free range. You don't got to. These animals are fucking great, man. These animals
talking about green pastures.
Green pastures. Paint the pictures.
Pastures.
I'm like, thank you very much for this performance. Bravo. But we're vegan, so we'll be doing none of that.
None of what you just said.
Yeah. So thank you, but no thank you. So
but it's like he was ready too, and it's like he was already reaching for the vegan menu before we finished. He was like, and that's why we got this.
Yeah. So we were like, why do these companies have these burgers, like the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger, and promote them so heavy? The entire place of Bear Burger, it's like the Impossible Burger is like the thing that's more showcased than any of their other burgers. Yeah. And I was saying it's because right now, today's age, I think these companies, like, things are going in that direction anyway. And people in general, I think there's an innate guilt that you're killing an animal, so that's why people think about being organic and free range and grass fed. They think it's less bad for the animals. There's no abuse or cruelty. It's cruelty free. These terms make people feel better because there's an innate guilt that you're partaking in some sort of slaughter. So that's why people think like, oh, it's done humane, even though we know there's no such thing as humane slaughter. Even though we know there's no such thing as humane slaughter. Even though we know there's no such thing as humane slaughter. So,
Ed, can you hear us?
So I think that these companies understand that, and they exploit the human need to feel like they're doing something better for their health and better for the world. Mm-hmm. So back to the point of Wicked, back 15 years ago, this wasn't we didn't see these progressive desires from people in that way yet. So I think it'd be interesting now if the show started promoting this animal activism part of it. The girl who played Elphaba, did you look up what her name was?
Yes, and then I forgot. So really quick, the Glinda we saw, Galinda, or Glinda with a gut, is silent. Katie Rose Clark making her return as Glinda.
And she was very good.
And
very,
she was
very
excellent, yeah. And then we've got Laurel Harris, who played Elphaba. She was the standby, came on at the last second, and we were so excited we got to see her. She was amazing. And it says on her Instagram, artist, activist, adventurer, lover of humans, animals, nature, and the stars. Whoa!
And isn't the guy who plays Fiyero also vegan?
Ryan McCartan does not say he's vegan, but many, many times he was eating vegan. He was at vegan restaurants.
Sure.
He made a comment about somebody who wasn't eating vegan, and he was like, well, you gotta be vegan. Something like that.
Yeah.
I could be making this all up.
You could.
It could just be wishful thinking. But he definitely eats. I've seen him eat vegan.
He eats plant-based at the very least in some capacity, and not all the time. It'd be interesting because there's so many people who are going this way, and these actors and there are these animal activists. And I think like the girl in the Playboy, it said like she's been trying to be Elphaba since she saw it when she was 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to see how she paralleled so well to the character. Like you could see that animal activist in her and how she felt about it. Mm-hmm. When the animals are losing their voice, they're actually like the goat, he's like starting to sing and he's like bah, while he's singing.
What's really interesting, just to go back, you said it a second ago about the show's undertones, is I was just reading something that said when it came out, a harsh criticism was, oh, Wicked is so political. And you know what, I wouldn't say that. That's definitely not something that would have been the first thing I said. But people found those undertones then and were pushed away, especially maybe more, I don't want to use the word conservative minded, but afraid of change perhaps, or afraid of guilty feelings they may have, or just fearful of, would rather keep separation rather than togetherness and oneness. They were afraid of those messages that they could feel coming through. So it became...
Well, I could see that because when something comes out and it's brand new, it's going to be way more scrutinized. Right now, we just see it as a form of entertainment.
Right. And anything that's political now is just... it's so mainstream now.
That too. The whole play is about trying to silence these people, and the fact that the bad guy, that everyone, that we always want an enemy.
That's what the wizard says. Yeah,
that we want to have an enemy to blame, and obviously that's reaches further than veganism.
Points to war.
To war, everything, and there's no way to achieve harmony and happiness with that mindset, but it's easy for everyone. So like, I think a lot of people look at like veganism in a way, not as, some people I think who are meat eaters look at vegans as the enemy, and they say like everyone's trying to change me and impose their views on me, and then I don't want to change how I am. But even further than that, animals as an enemy, that they were there for us to be eaten, that they're a source for us to have to live and not coexist with. But I think, as I've talked about before, and as I hope people realize, is that I've said this so many times, but it's just such a good quote, and it's so cheesy to say. With great power comes great responsibility. We've evolved to be able to take care of these beings who need our helps. And I was reading on a forum recently. I follow like all these Facebook groups. I don't partake in them. I just like to watch and use them as a source of information, really. And one of them was they were talking about honey or something, and just people were berating people, and
that's a tough subject, so I could see why there's a big debate.
Sure, and we'll talk. I want to talk about this in another episode, but I want to take one point from it, which was that it's the way we see animals. When you start looking at as animals as you're the master and they're the pet, as opposed to like a guardian or a companion, that's where the confusion comes in. You're imposing your power over this being that you believe is yours and you own, whereas you just coexist with. Animals nowadays need our protection and shelter, and we provide food for them and different things because the world's evolved and changed. But if we think that we are their masters, that's creating a wrong connotation in our head of the relationship that we should be existing, especially with animals like cats and dogs, because obviously it's a lot harder for dogs to live in the wild now, and same thing for cats because of industrialization and everything else that exists in today's societies. But cows and pigs and sheep, you know, they existed as pets back then. Now we just look at them as livestock, and it's quite a shame. And obviously I think the people who are there, they think of them as property. They don't even think of them as animals anymore. It's just stock. So I think the problem stems even just from the definition of the animals to certain people. But back to Wicked. So while I didn't enjoy the musical in like a fan boy or girl way, because I'm just not a huge musical fan, it's just, I really, really enjoy that was a huge part of it, that she's trying to, like, there's a whole part about like free the monkeys.
It never went away. I kept thinking, the song Something Bad with Dr. Dilliman and Alphaba when he's losing his voice and the sign comes out. I was like, oh, great. And this is why she does it all. But I forgot. It's throughout. It doesn't go away.
And she sets the cowardly lion free, who winds up turning into...
The lion in the cage. What does he say about the lion? He smacks him with the whip and he says...
took his courage away.
They're breeding them now not to ever know that they can speak.
Yeah. So, I mean, exactly. And that was a thing, too, in that thing about honey. People always talk about chickens, and I'll talk about this in another episode, but the chicken that exists now is not the chicken that existed hundreds of years ago. We talked about this, but even the fact in laying eggs, that these chickens typically would lay these eggs. I mean, I think chickens nowadays lay like 300, 400 eggs a year. Back before they were genetically modified to be the way they were laying like 20 to 30 eggs in their lifetime. These animals are literally like dying and mutating in themselves and dealing with all sorts of cancers and diseases because of the way we've modified them. And they have no understanding of why anything these things are happening, and they're suffering while enduring a life of slavery. It breaks my heart. It really, it's, I could not imagine, how many studies have been shown about these animals that think and feel pain. I see it all the time. And like Canada Goose, I did an episode on that. There was an episode done about wolves and how intelligent they are, and coyotes, to feel how much that they feel and experience depression. Like,
at this point, humans are their biggest threat, and as a collective animal consciousness, we are what they fear instead of we are their protectors. And how many should be?
And how many times do these dogs, and I say dogs because you see it most prominently in those, but that have been beaten and abused by people, after a while they still trust humans. It's like it's in their nature.
Your dog, you beat it and it will still be loyal to you.
Yep.
It's just really.
It's so sad and terrible. And I saw a video on Facebook recently about this guy. He's a hunter and beagles, and that for me, the next animal I think I would love to introduce to my life is a rescued beagle.
He hunts for beagles?
No, the beagles are hunting dogs by nature, and so they use them. And the guy, what he would do is he'd put these beagles in cages on the back of his truck, on his pickup truck, and it's like pouring rain, and this dog is just on like the bed, not even in the bed of the truck. Like it's attached to like that little space right where you would hook it onto to carry another car or like a trailer. And the dog's just like terrified being pulled in the pouring rain, and using the dog to hunt other animals too, as it is. So these things, they just break my heart, and I would love to do that. Obviously, I have 3 cats who it's hard enough for us to give attention to as it is. But I just, my heart aches for these animals, and hopefully one day we can do some sort of sanctuary in our lives. But that's a little ways away.
Who knows? Who knows if it's a little ways away or not.
Yeah. Well, maybe if I can get a Broadway contract and make $1,800 a week, then we can talk about that.
Wow, $1,800 a week.
That's how much
I know.
Contract.
I know.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you're giving 20% of that away and then taxes, so you walk home with like $900 a week.
Yeah.
So, still a good salary to work 2 hours a night. My goodness, do what you love. What I wouldn't give if I could live out of these waters.
Wow. I had no idea what song you were going for.
I honestly didn't either until I kind of got there.
You definitely made that up.
I knew the word that I was going with, and then the song kind of just followed. So, I would highly recommend going to see Wicked. Even now, 15 years later, it stands the test of time. We were just talking about some of our favorite musicals, and I think it's got to be up there for me. I have not seen that many, but I've seen, like, we were talking American Idiot. I've seen Chicago. I've seen On the Town. Was that what it was called?
Maybe.
Book of Mormon. I thought this was better than Book of Mormon.
You ever just realize that there's things you can't remember for no reason?
We were just talking about, like, the different plays that were like, oh, yeah, we saw that.
I feel like I blacked out for Book of Mormon.
Yeah?
I don't have any memory of it at all.
No?
Is this just what happens when you get older?
Yeah, unfortunately. Memory is one of the first things to start.
Although, perhaps, I don't need to remember it. You know? My mind's like, you don't
See it
need
again,
that.
then you'll see
Goodbye. This, you need room for better things. And, there's many memories I wish would leave, and they don't.
No. Oh, boy. No, I it was good, Book of Mormon. I really want to see Hamilton still.
Yeah.
I want to see King Kong. That looks...
The trailer, I saw in a taxi.
Yeah?
And I thought, wow.
Well, talk about animal activism. These people trying to kill this giant animal, King Kong.
Leave him alone.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. Wait a minute. We're impersonating the best Trump impersonator ever.
No, I'm not. I honestly couldn't even... if I wanted to.
That's it. Here comes.
Oh, we're impersonating. I thought you were talking about me.
No. What kind of laugh was that? I thought that was part of your...
All right, we don't need... If you're trying to do anything, first of all, if you're trying to play stuff, you should be playing it through this, because this is
No,
what
I'm not
people
playing. I'm trying to find the name of the guy who we were doing.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of the other musical that I said I wanted to see. Oh no, I want to see Network with Bryan Cranston. That's like the other play.
Oh yeah. We saw Bryan Cranston in All the Way.
Yes.
So we must see him again.
But a good friend of ours who is best friends with Brian is actually understudying for him. It'd be cool to see Bill if he filled in, which I don't think will happen though, just because it's such a marquee show for Brian. But who knows? Maybe there is a day which he'll go on.
Are you saying that you don't think that Bill would have to cover him?
I don't know if they'll have to. I think it's like you go to that show. It's not like it's an ensemble show where you go to see that show and you're not expecting to see him. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's like if something happens, he goes on.
Yeah.
But True West, Paul Dano's in that with
Is he the one from Okja?
Yes. Yeah. Paul Dano's in True West, and I just saw that. I want to do that. Sam Shepard.
He might not even be vegan, but I just got like all
I'm sure he's got it's
movie.
fluttering with his mind at some point if you're casting that movie. That's another thing too. It's like I wish a lot of these movies cast that are about this cast vegan actors, and I'm sure to a capacity they do. But it would mean a lot more to me if they did.
I remember seeing. Go ahead.
Sorry. Actually, you finish because I'm gonna make a text.
I was gonna say I remember seeing Okja actually, and I was shaking. I don't know if you remember. I was so affected by that movie. Do you remember? I was
great
shaking.
Movie. You guys should watch
I was
Okja
out
if you
of
haven't
control. The last, I don't know if it's not the last shot, but when you see all of them. I don't want to give anything away, but she's walking away with, and it's okay, but it's really not okay. Yeah. Because look at all of this, and they're watching him. I'm like gonna cry right now.
That's up on one of my favorite movies, actually. Like, definitely top vegan movies for sure, like or activism movies, hands down. It was just a really, really great movie. I was gonna say, recently I didn't get to say this in the last podcast, but I had an audition for Carl's Jr.'s vegan burgers recently for the voiceover.
Wait, it was Carl's Jr.'s, but you didn't know if it was for the vegan food or not.
I didn't know. I just knew it was Carl's Jr.'s. I went into it because as a voice actor, you get your copy as soon as you walk in there. And I was like, oh my God, this is for the Impossible Burger. I want to get it so bad. And I haven't heard anything yet, but I don't think I got it. So that was a bit heartbreaking. I was like, of all the ads that I want to do as a commercial, like this is the one.
But in case you're wondering, he does do a lot of voiceover work. He's very excellent.
I think they get that by now, I hope. Yeah. So, and speaking of which, we'll do it now, even though you probably heard in the beginning of the thing. Check out samsuntech.com/stoked on plants, because they are the wonderful people who are providing all this gear that we're wearing right now. Even these headphones, which have been switched out of their earmuffs for the faux leather versions. So that way we are fully contributing to the veganism movement. The other thing I want to say, a part of this, that was that Facebook group that just reminded me of all these people, and we're going to do another episode about this. It's like, if you're making, I just want to reinforce this now, take every opportunity that I can. If you're making every opportunity you can to do the least harm that you can, nobody in the world is vegan. We're going to do an episode. That might be the next episode. No one is vegan. By definition, no one is vegan. If you drive a car, if you sit on leather, if you own like a cell phone or things that, companies that have animal products used within the manufacturing of things, you're technically not a vegan. So you can't cherry pick those little tidbit facts. And people were giving other people grief about that. So if you want to go by the standard definition, I think that it's no different than Scientology, because everyone's trying to like adhere by guidelines of veganism. But that's why a lot of people like to use plant-based. I'm plant-based, but I'm not vegan because I wear leather. I'm not doing it for the animals. But we got to stop looking at veganism as a hard black and white line, because then it's just going to discourage people, and it's not going to promote the movement. It's going to alienate people and think of it as an exclusive elitist club. So I'll end with that. Let's any other final news or thoughts on Wicked that we can talk about? Because this isn't going to be that long of a podcast, because I'm going to try and make these more concise and shorter. But
well, you said the whole point of, you made it seem like animal activism was one of the strongest themes of Wicked.
I wouldn't say it was one of the strongest ones.
I don't think it is, but the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, friendship, what they did for each other, and how an entire group of people who are severely misinformed can create havoc, panic. They can create enemies by fear and by being guided wrongly, which we can say happens now, of course, all the time. Mm-hmm. Large groups of people believing things, and the energy turns very violent and angry, and then we're all separating from each other. So those are certainly really strong messages of Wicked. And I think that if Wicked was done now, if it was suddenly redone, the script was relooked at, and the music was relooked at, that the animal message would be even stronger. But then it wasn't enough. But it's painted really nicely throughout, I think, and they certainly don't push it as a main theme or as a main point, but it's painted throughout, and all I could do was really see it this time. So if you do see it, or see it again, see it with those eyes. See the activism. When Elphaba sings Defying Gravity and she says, I can't want it anymore, I just got tingles, because when you see with true eyes for the first time, when you actually wake up, open your eyes and see the truth for what it is, your whole life changes. And Elphaba's entire life changed, and she became a villain just to bring peace to those who were being silenced. And that's kind of what's happening
now, is that these vegan activists are seen as almost like, some people call them, you see it all the time in the news, as terrorists. That you have to be sometimes the bad guy and point the finger at these slaughterhouses and things, and you got to stand in front of the trucks, and you got to do a little bit. You got to, all within the right ways. All these articles talked about Elphaba like doing these bad things, but she doesn't really do anything bad.
I know they call her. They actually in a couple articles I read they called her a terrorist.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what does she do?
Is Elphaba good or is she evil? Where in any part of the show is she viewed as evil?
She barges into the president's office and tells him and holds him like hostage.
Says, set the monkeys free. But the thing is that the monkeys were once talking, wearing clothes. We forget this.
I read the same article as you, and I think what that article was talking about is where are the lines in terms of like morality and terrorism.
Oh, and that can be said for Elphaba and Glinda. There's an ad going around New York saying "good" with a question mark, evil on both Elphaba and Glinda. And this is actually the first time that I saw Glinda in a very
not that I'm
different way.
Or I don't think either of us here are like advocating for terrorism anyway, but I think that you've seen it. Like I remember Hayden Panettiere and all those people, kind of like Okja, they broke into that aquarium and they let all these whales free or something, right? The sea life, they let all these things out, and that's technically illegal and against the law. But at what point?
But is it wrong? Right?
Is it? I mean, morally,
is it morally wrong?
It's so hard to say. You know, how many things have had to be changed because someone did something that was technically illegal and then gets changed because someone had to break that law to show everyone else this is how bad this is.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying promoting here that you should do those things, but I think morality and legality, there's such a it's not black and white all the time.
I think most people who see Wicked see Elphaba as the good character who was treated wrongly.
Exactly.
And I think they see Glinda as trying as like us. Glinda is like everybody else who she's trying. She knows what the right thing to do is, but it is so hard to give up that ego and what the ego wants and to just, who cares?
Well,
and Elphaba didn't care. Right, and Elphaba didn't care because she was already green.
Yeah.
She was already an outcast, just like the animal, so she didn't have anything to lose at that point.
That's very interesting.
And Glinda had everything to lose.
I read something where it was like, because Glinda says that she's like the person, the wicked must die alone or something, like the wicked have to be alone.
The wicked die alone.
Or something, whatever it is. And I always thought that Elphaba gets to stay with Fiero at the end of the play. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. It's been on for long enough. We can talk about the story.
Yeah.
But is that not what happens?
What?
What did you just question?
No, so the point I'm trying to make is that Glinda at the end she's technically alone.
She's alone. Yep.
And Elphaba isn't. Which I thought was weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you could see in a weird way Glinda as being the bad because she's part of that bigger group that is trying to.
And she's calling herself wicked. She
technically got her sister killed. Yep. She told them to do that. They obviously went and did it further, but they were the catalyst for it. The same way, you know, she justifies it. Like Elphaba says, "My dad is the reason. I'm the reason why my mom died." And my dad killed my daughter, or hit her, or got her sister paralyzed.
Paralyzed, yeah. And the mother died. Then.
Yeah, so technically you could say the same thing about Glinda, but Glinda says to her earlier, like, you can't look at it that way. That's not your fault. Everyone has their own choice, their own ability to take everything to their own hands. You're not responsible for what people do. And I think that's a blurry line.
Luckily, Glinda does put the evil behind bars or exiles them.
Yeah.
So she does try to redeem herself, and she sort of hugs the monkeys in the end. So she learned everything she needed to learn without changing herself. She's still Glinda the good. She's still her, but now she's taken everything she needs from Elphaba, from everything she's learned, and spreading the right message now. Yeah. Hopefully we think that she has learned now.
Last thing I'll say about this too is that the play basically shows you how the media or the government puts out, like, they create that villain for you. They create what, like,
hysteria.
The way the wizard comes to power is everyone wants someone to look at and believe in and think everything's okay. And so long as the world and everyone tells you that meat is good for you, and these pharmaceutical companies tell you that you're going to be fine, that everyone just kind of turns a blind eye. They just kind of sheep mentality.
He said he was powerful. He said he had magic, and they were like, okay.
Yeah.
We believe you. And he's
Sounds
like, okay,
great.
So do I.
Just because he created the illusion of it.
There was the illusion.
So
he was different, and he was charismatic, and he was, you know.
I don't know. What was he?
He wasn't your typical politician.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay. There, now I get
Did you
it.
get where I was going with that?
I didn't, but now I do. So, and I think we see that today. But great. Let's jump into some news really quickly. I didn't really see anything too, anything too crazy, but Desperate Dairy pushes FDA to require imitation labels on vegan milk. Oh, please. That's basically referring to almond milk, coconut milk, flaxseed milk, all of the other great alternative soy milk.
They mad.
Yeah, they are mad.
They're mad.
I don't think this is ever going to go through. And listen, at the end of the day, they're trying to. They should have to put a label on theirs that say it shouldn't just be able to call milk. Then it should be called dairy milk, because technically humans produce milk the same as.
You mean cow's milk? It should just say cow's milk.
Yeah. Yeah, not even dairy. It should say cow's milk. May
cause cancer.
Imitation. It's because they're saying it's trying to. Let's read what it says here. What is the main reason? The latest fundamental solution for the problem. Requiring such a disparaging word as imitation on label would indeed violate the First Amendment. Yeah.
Oh, wow. They argue that plant-based milk is nutritionally inferior to its animal-derived counterparts. And
therefore labels that feature the word milk, even with such a qualifier as dairy-free and plant-based, misleads consumers. Oh, please. Let's not even give any more
don't give
credit to this. A line of plant-based milks formulated to be nutritional equivalent and in some aspects superior to dairy milk, with more calcium and vitamin D and less sugar. That's basically, they're saying plant-based milks are technically seen to be equivalent, if not superior, because they contain all these other fortified aspects to it, and no estrogen that may come from the cows with ulcers or cancerous cells that might be found in your milk, and any of the other harmful diseases or contaminations that might get passed.
They sort of want to keep,
without FDA regulation.
They sort of want to keep the misinformed still misinformed. They know that a simple change like that, making plant-based milk not say milk, right? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, to a degree.
That will actually work. That people who aren't vegan or are considering going vegan or are considering at least just losing milk, that it will work on them, that they will see it as something completely different. But they're right that it will work. But something so simple as that has such a strong effect, which means the fact that it's becoming it's being called almond milk, oat milk.
Oat milk.
Yes.
You gonna finish that thought?
Oat milk. I want to try oat milk, actually.
Oat milk's good. It's good in lattes.
Yeah. It's getting very big in New York.
It is.
Everybody's getting oat milk. They're afraid, because keeping the word milk attached to those is going to make it even bigger, that people they'll be able to think for themselves. They know it's not milk.
What?
They know it's not milk.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they also feel like it's the main point is they're trying to take that word away from milk, because the common person thinks that milk, they said, good for your bones, and they think that they're using that as right now it's being, I can substitute what milk is so important for you, but they're trying to say, no, you need milk, that these are imitations, it's not the real thing, it's not doing the same health benefits for you, where in reality milk's not really doing anything great for you as it is.
I know I had a point. Thanks for clarifying.
You're welcome. Shaquille O'Neal and 13 top athletes invest in vegan Beyond Meat. Ooh, we're going to do an episode on Beyond Meat versus the Impossible Burger soon. So
I mean, we have to make them then.
We will. We're going to do that, and we're going to, because I got the Impossible Burger and she got the Beyond Burger at Bear Burger. But who do we got here? David Wright, Eric Bledsoe, Tia Blanco, Chris Paul, Victor. Those are not sports people, but those are just other athletes. Oh no, those are existing shareholders. Sorry. JJ Redick, Chris Paul, Victor Oladipo, DeAndre Jordan, Javale McGee, Harrison Barnes, Luke Walton, NFL stars DeAndre Hopkins, Malcolm Jenkins, Derek Morgan, and his wife Charity. I read about that in one of our previous episodes. But yeah, great. I think just everyone's smart. They're realizing that this is the future. So next episode, I think hopefully we'll see if it's not a guest. It will probably be nobody's actually vegan. We're gonna do a Beyond Burger versus the Impossible Burger coming up. I don't think they can see him, but Sasuke's in the back sleeping on his throne. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you check out samsuntech.com/stoked on plants. Thank you, Aly, for joining us again and making this episode much more bearable to listen to, because people like hearing other voices besides mine, and it makes me do much better. Any final words? What's the consensus on Wicked? Give him a one sentence on it.
Go see Wicked and watch with new eyes.
Okay.
Whatever.
And so give me your top bet, your best Elphaba and Glinda right now.
You know who I was gonna do.
who are your favorites? Not your impression.
Thank goodness, because I was gonna do that.
No. Glinda.
Oh my gosh, this is really, really
Just
hard.
Go.
I'm sorry.
Top one of your head.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go with Kendra, who was the first national tour Glinda.
I have no idea who that is, but okay. And
Alphaba. I saw Shoshana Bean. I gotta say Shoshana Bean. That was my first Alphaba. And Laurel Harris. Yeah.
Wow.
Together.
Wow, she was that good. Yeah.
Yes, I think she was.
And
oh my gosh, Eden Espinosa. Okay, go ahead.
And Norbert Leo Butts, we actually got to do a musical workshop with him at our first college. Such an amazing human being. I watched just the online videos of him as Fiero, and he seemed amazing. But the guy who we saw did quite well, I thought.
Ryan McCartan did a great job. I was very excited to see him. I've been following him for a long time, and then when I heard he was going to Wicked, I was like, that's awesome, but I know I'm not going to see him. And then I got to see him, and it was just so exciting.
Yeah.
He did a great job.
Yeah, so go check out Wicked. Thank you once again, Matt, for the tickets. Thank you all for watching and listening. We will more than likely be doing 2 episodes a week, back on track starting next week. It's been 1 for these last 3 weeks. But we'll get back in the groove. So thank you again, Aly. Thank you, everyone. Cue that outro music. And what's we will defy gravity? What's like the slogan for
everyone deserves a chance to fly.
Everyone deserves a chance to fly,
including every single animal on the planet.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Take care.